Hello everyone, I'm Sneha. I'm back on my YouTube channel, Storyteller. So I have come up with a very different story as I have told that it will be a story based on a real event. And this is known as The Story of a Shipwrecked Sailor. It's by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Now the writer was a journalist during his early professional life. So whatever event he has collected, whatever incidents he has come across, so those he has given a shape to the novel and to short stories, and he has also put some fiction into it, and the concoction is absolutely beautiful. Now this will take me a little more time to complete, but I do believe that it will really uh, interest you, and you will be really looking forward for this story to end, and you will love to be listening to it. So let us start with the story. We were told that we would be returning to Colombia. For 8 months, we had been in Mobile, Alabama, where the electronic equipment and gunnery of Caldas were being repaired. While on liberty, we did what all sailors do ashore. We went to the movies with our girlfriends and afterwards met at a bar in the port, the Joe Palaco, where we drank whiskey and sometimes started brawls. My girlfriend was named Maria Dress, and I met her through another sailor's girlfriend after I had been in Mobile for 2 months. Mary had some fluency in Spanish, but I don't think she ever understood why my friends called her in jest Maria Direction. Each time we had shore, I took her to the movies, although she preferred going out for ice cream. With my half English and her half Spanish, we could just about make ourselves understood, but we always did understand each other at the movie or eating ice cream. There was only one time I did not go out with Mary, the night we saw the Cane Mutiny. Some of my friends had heard it was a good movie about life abroad, minesweeper. There was a reason we went to see it. The best part of the movie, however, wasn't the minesweeper, but the storm. We all agreed that the thing to do in a situation like that was to change the vessel's course, as the mutineer had done. But none of us had ever been in a storm like that one, so nothing in the movie impressed us as much as the storm did. When we returned to the ship that night, one of the sailor, Diego Velasquez, who was very impressed by the movie, figured that in just a few days we would be at sea and wondered, what if something like that happened to us? I confess that the movie also made an impression on me. In the past 8 months, I had grown unaccustomed to the sea. I wasn't afraid, for an instructor had shown us how to fend for ourselves in the event of a shipwreck. Nonetheless, the uneasiness I felt the night we saw the Cane Mutiny wasn't normal. I don't mean to say that from the moment I began to anticipate the catastrophe, but I had never been so apprehensive before a voyage. When I was a child in Bogota, looking at illustration in books, it never occurred to me that one might encounter death at sea. On the contrary, I had a great deal of faith in the sea. And from the time I had enlisted in the Navy, 2 years before, I had never felt anxious during a voyage. But I am not ashamed to say that I felt something like fear after seeing the Cane Mutiny. Lying face up in my bunk, the uppermost one, I thought about my family and about the voyage we would have to make before reaching Cartagena. I could not sleep. With my head resting in my hands, I listened to the soft splash of water against the pier and the calm breathing of 40 sailors sleeping in their quarters. Just below my bunk, Seaman First Class Luis Rengifo snored like a trombone. I don't know what he was dreaming about, but he certainly wouldn't have slept so soundly had he known that 8 days later he would be dead at the bottom of the sea. My uneasiness lasted all through that week. The day of the departure was alarmingly close, and I tried to instill some confidence in myself by talking to my mates. We talked more insistently about our families, about Colombia, and about our plan for our return. Little by little, the ship was loaded with the gifts we would take home: radios, refrigerator, washing machine, and stove. I had brought a radio. Unable to shake off my worries, I made a resolution. As soon as I reached Cartagena, I would quit the Navy. The night before we sailed, I went to say goodbye to Mary. I thought I would speak to her about my fears and about my resolution, but I didn't, because I had promised her I would be back, and she wouldn't have believed if I told her I had decided never to sail again. The only person I did say was Seaman Second Class Raman Herrera, who confided that he too had decided to leave the Navy as soon as we reached Cartagena. Sharing our misgiving, Raman Herrera and I went with Diogo Velasquez to have a whiskey and bid farewell to Joe Palaco. We thought we would have one whiskey, but we ended up having 5 bottles. Practically all our girlfriends knew we were leaving and they decided to say goodbye, get drunk, and cry to show their gratitude. The band leader, a serious fellow who wore eyeglasses that made him look nothing like a musician, played a program of mambos and tangos in our honor, thinking this was Colombian music. Our girlfriends wept and drank whiskey at $1.50 a bottle. Since we had paid 3 times that week, we decided to raise the roof. Me, because I was worried and wanted to get drunk. Raman Herrera, because he was happy, as always, and because he was from Arjona and knew how to play the drums, and he had a singular talent for imitating all the fashionable singers. Shortly before we left, a North American sailor came up to our table and asked permission to dance with Raman Herrera's girlfriend, an enormous blonde, the one who was drinking the least and crying the most, and she meant it. The North American asked permission in English, and Raman Herrera shook him, saying in Spanish, "I can't understand you, you son of a bitch." I turned out to be one of the best brawl Mumbai ever had, with chairs broken over people's head, radio petrol cars and cops. Raman Herrera, who managed to throw a couple of good haymakers at the North American, went back to the ship at 1 in the morning, singing like Daniel Santos. He said it was the last time he would go abroad, and indeed it was. So in my next video, I'll be continuing from this part where I'm stopping today. So if you haven't listened to my previous stories, so please do visit my channel and do listen to all the previous stories which I've read out to you. Like, share and subscribe to my channel.